welcome to the 7-day chakra challenge. I followed the chakra sequences from this book as diligently as possible. The meditations were inspired by some online research, meaning pose, mantra, and mudra. Today we're focusing on the 4th chakra, anahata, or the heart chakra. So let's feel the love. So we started our heart-centered chakra class with 5 minutes of Sukhasana and Ujjayi breath, which is also known as the ocean breath. And then we went into 5 cycles of cat and cow or Bidhalasana, resting in child's pose at the end, and then coming to standing in Tadasana for 5 breaths. And now we're beginning a cycle of multiple sun salutations. So we'll start with classical Surya Namaskar for 3 cycles. Keep in mind that all of this is sped up to 4 times the speed. So I'm actually moving quite slow, moving with the breath. Then I went into 3 cycles of Surya Namaskar A. And Surya Namaskar B. After resting in child's pose, we started a sequence of back bends. So Shalabhasana A, or locust pose, lifting and releasing 5 times before holding. I find that this exercise is the best way to warm up the back, warm up the spine, to get ready for the deeper back bends. Here's Sphinx pose. I was here for 10 breaths. Then Cobra pose for 5 breaths. And then Bakasana, which I never do for 10 breaths. And then flowing back into downward dog to lengthen the spine. And all of these back bends that I'm doing, I'm really focusing on pulling the heart forward, opening up the chest. So to really center in on the heart here, rather than just doing the back bend for the back bend. So here's Ardha Matsyendrasana. 5 breaths on each side, a twist to even everything out after the back bends and to prepare for more. So Setu Bandha Sharvangasana I've heard as bridge pose or construction of bridge pose. Also a really, really great warm-up, highly recommend. Into Urdhva Dhanurasana or wheel pose for 5 breaths. From here, I went straight into Viparita Dandasana. I thought it was easier to just transition, although the transition wasn't included in the original sequence. Possibly the strangest part of this sequence is that in the middle here, we're going into some really relaxing poses. So I went into Supta Baddha Konasana with some blankets to prop open the heart. I don't really have enough blankets to do more, but you can still feel it. And then Shavasana for a minute in the middle of the sequence. Kind of weird, kind of unexpected, but I dug it. Why not? If you can have 2 Shavasanas, why not have 2 Shavasanas? After 1 minute of that, we went into Swastikasana for 1 minute on each side, which is that really intense twist. And then Dandasana for 5 breaths. Marichayasana C for 5 breaths on each side. And then Paschimottanasana for 2 minutes. So we're really slowing down here, holding each pose a little bit longer, and they're much more passive. Here's Parivrita Janu Shirshasana on both sides for 5 breaths. And then Baddha Konasana for 10 breaths, reaching the heart forward before dropping the chin to the chest. After that was our second Supta Baddha Konasana that lasted about 2 to 3 minutes, and this time I propped with blocks instead of blankets. I just really prefer blocks. They feel stable and steady, and if you don't have some, get some. And then Shavasana for about 5 minutes. For the meditation, I took out my rose quartz mala, got comfortable in Sukhasana, sitting on a meditation cushion, and included the mudra of the padma lotus. I really like it. It's nice. It just feels pretty. And then I chanted Yam. So, the heart chakra. One of my favorite chakras to focus on when I'm doing yoga. Probably one of the only chakras that I focus on regularly, other than the throat chakra, but we'll get to that in the next video. I tend to have a lot of tightness in my chest and also in the upper part of my back, so in between my shoulder blades. And I believe a lot of this has to do with my heart chakra, so that's a personal thing for me. I love doing heart opening sequences, doing heart opening poses. They're very helpful for me, and I think a lot of people do benefit from heart chakra exercises because we spend a lot of time hunching in and closing ourselves off and choosing fear over love, but that's a whole nother story. I loved this heart chakra opening class, or balancing class. So the heart chakra is also called the anahata chakra. I used a few stones, a few crystals. When I was looking at my collection, I found out that I actually have the most stones that are symbolically related to the heart chakra. I have a lot of green and rose quartz and things like that. So I did wear my rose quartz mala for the meditation, which the mantra was Yam, and the mudra was this one. It's like a lotus mudra, and I forgot what it's called, but I'll link it. And I also have a rose quartz like this. And then I have 2 green stones that I put on my mat, and I don't remember what they're called, but I'll do some research. I'll put it in the description if I figure out what these 2 stones are. Anyway, highly recommend any kind of heart chakra balancing class. I think it's super important. I think it's super necessary. It's so difficult to stay open and loving and vulnerable, but that's what we need, and that's what actually changes the world for the better, to become a better place. I actually didn't know that the heart chakra was associated with the air sign, but it makes a lot of sense now. I can't explain it, but personally it makes a lot of sense. I really liked it. It wasn't as difficult as the other classes. I still had to put effort in, but it was not as sweaty, not as fast-paced, and I did try to use Ujjayi breath the entire time, except for Shavasana. Ujjayi breath is also the Darth Vader breath, or the sound of the waves that you hear when you go to a yoga class. A lot of people like to breathe this way very loudly, And the way that I was taught, the Ujjayi breath should actually be very soft and subtle. So you'll hear people breathing like this. So it's kind of like you close your throat a little bit. I'm going to do the Ujjayi breath a little bit closer to you, and I'm not sitting up straight, so it's hard for me to fill up my lungs completely, but here goes as best as possible. But that's the exaggerated version. So you can almost hear how it sounds like an ocean. It's one of the most common breaths that is introduced in a typical yoga class. And people tend to be very loud about it. When you're learning how to do it, it's easier to be loud because you're exaggerating the breath. And then as time goes on, you make it more subtle, you make it more soft, so it's all internal, and someone who's standing, a meter away from you shouldn't really hear you. So if you are doing Ujjayi breath, don't feel like you have to be super loud about it. You don't have to be Darth Vader. That's my little spiel about Ujjayi breath. Other than that, awesome heart-opening chakra class. I loved it. I would do this class every single day, and I'm super happy about it. On to the next one. I'll see you guys next time. Bye. You're so sleepy.